Hello there, I'm the Biz Manager and welcome to Captain of Industry. In this game we have to manage a group of engineers that found themselves trapped in an island, and instead of using a radio to call for help, they said, screw this, let's make our own society in here. And you know what, I kinda understand their point. So, without further ado, let's just get into the game, shall we? Given that this is going to be the first playthrough, we are going to go for the standards of standards. We have the standard map, standard difficulty, standard everything. Let's just launch the game and see what we have to work with. And here we are, my friends. Into the game we go. Now these messages and tutorials, who cares about that? No one. No one, I tell you. Now, like I said, we are a stranded group of engineers, our ship is damaged, the shipyard is damaged, everything is damaged. We start the game with a set number of resources, and right now none of these resources are renewable. Let's pause the game, right? None of these resources are renewable, we have what we have, and we have to be very careful with those resources. Now, we also start the game with a couple of worker units. By the way, this is the thing that actually pulled me into the game, is the fact that we have worker units. Is one of the things that I like about Factory Town, so one of the things that actually made me try out this game. So, the first and probably the only renewable resource that we have available to us right now is wood, because we start with a tree harvester right there. We must assign an area of harvesting to the tree harvester. I kinda like this corner over here, you know, to be probably early game farming. So let's tag all of those trees, and you will see that the harvester over here is going to go and do his thing. Pretty cool. We also need to assign a vehicle to it, so, you know, the harvester will pick up the tree and drop it inside of the vehicle. This one over here, the highlighted one, here it goes. Baby vehicle going after mama vehicle. Going to learn the ways of tree harvesting. But well, there are other things, right? This is not just harvesting trees, right? We must build a few things to start with. Let's see, what do we have available to us? We start with a coal maker, something that we are going to need, and that's one of the reasons why we need those trees in the first place, because we can convert them into coal. So, given that we are going to use this area as our harvesting, but we start and place the coal maker right there. Now, as we can see, there are several ports for input and outputs. This is for the future once we have pipes and belts and stuff like that. However, as we can see in the recipe, wood gets turned into coal, and then we have coal plus exhaust. You must evacuate the exhaust. The way we do this is we slam a chimney on the coal maker. And there we go. Now our other vehicles should go into the shipyard, pick up the stuff, deliver it to the work order, and the work order is going to build itself. Pretty cool. Now let's take a look at the other things that we have. We already have some pipes, which is beautiful, and we have research labs. Now this part is very, very important, because, you know, research kind of an important thing. So right now, because our resources are just very limited, we are just going to slam one research lab. As you can see, it's going to cost us 23 construction parts. We don't have access to a lot of those. In the future, we are going to get rid of them, of these research labs that we are going to put over here, but for now it's a temporary thingy. Now we need to be careful, because in this game it's not like in Oxygen Not Included, where you deconstruct something and get 100% of the resources back. In here you'll get like 50%. So the temporary things that we are building now, they are permanent until we have achieved self-sufficiency. Okay? After that we can just get rid of them, because resources won't be a problem. Now that the research lab is ready, we can now start going through all of these beautiful things. Now our colonists are going to need some food, you know, that's kind of important. So let's get that going, and well, in fact we are going to get pretty much everything going. Yeah, at least all of these things need to go. This is the most basic of basic stuff. So in here we have the assembler, where you assemble, you know, your basic items, vehicles, because there are other vehicles in the game. There are plenty of other vehicles in the game, to be honest. Yeah, we need to make sure that we can actually assemble a couple of excavators to gather ourselves some resources, and then, you know, even that we already have the blasters, we'll put them in the furnace thingy and convert them into useful materials. But for now, that's sufficient research. Our scientists are going to have a field day doing those, so let's continue. Now, over here, for the housing thingies, we have the food market and the waste collection thingy. Very important. You don't want your colonists to drown in garbage. That's kind of terrible. And then you need to, you know, deposit the garbage somewhere. At first, they are going to put it over here, but then you need to go and deliver it somewhere else. Now, because, shall we say, beachfront or seafront, the area that connects the land to the sea is actually important because you're going to have several ports in the future. You can use garbage to expand this line over here to gain more, you know, more surface area. This is one of the other things that I really like about this game. Everything that you see in here is voxel. Your excavators can pick up dirt or resources or rocks or whatever and put them somewhere else. You can pretty much terraform the map however you see fit, which is like just mind-boggling. It takes a long time, okay? Very long time. But once you start seeing the, like for example, the pier that we are going to build in here grow, it can get really impressive. So, like I said, we are going to use some of the garbage and other detritus that we will pick up during our excavation efforts to build a pier over here into the infinite. I kind of want this thing to be rather thick, so let's go like this, 6 tiles, and then we push it forward. There we go. Now, there are several heights. You can make ramps. You can, like for example, we can put it like this, right? For example, let's say that we want to make a ramp to the top of the mountain. We can use garbage and dirt to do just that, right? We put the work order down and then the trucks will dump the stuff according to the shape that we make it, which is pretty cool, and is in fact required because the map is divided in subsections. This is the lowest subsection, right? If we want to access this part and then this part, we will need to make ramps going into these plateaus, which is once again pretty awesome and really incredible. But that's something for the very, very, very future, because right now we are still struggling to get farming going. Now, while we wait for that farm to go, we should probably get in here into the abandoned communication stations and start recycling these materials. Once again, these are limited, but it's an additional boost to the stuff that we have in here, right? So we kind of want to start converting some of this stuff into useful stuff. Like, for example, the iron scrap can be converted to useful iron plates right there, right? So we need to set up a blast furnace / metal caster thingy just to recycle these materials and get ourselves some useful stuff. Now, my friends, there are 2 ways we can do this. We can either go for the efficiency path or not. What do I mean by this? Well, we all know that one of the biggest problems in games like this is travel time, so it would be obvious that we would make the blast furnace / metal caster right here next to this thing. That way it would be easier for our workers to transport the stuff from here to here. However, this thing is quite pricey, and we won't have access to a lot of parts anytime soon. And we kinda know that the iron is right here, right? So we could technically put the blast furnace closer to this iron node, because this thing is going to go away pretty quickly. And if we just put it over here, we can then utilize it in the future to smelt the iron bits that we have over here. And so it is my opinion that we are going to go for the least efficient path, because, you know, your coal is right here, your iron is right here, and your furnaces are right there, which means your workers will have to go a significant distance, but yet again, you will get the resources in the end, so why not? Now let's take a look at timings. Luckily for us, the recipe already, the build order thingy already shows the possible recipes, so we can kind of have an idea on what we are going to need. One blast furnace produces 8 molten stuff every 20 seconds, and the metal caster needs 8 every 4 seconds, which we can now see that we can use 2 metal casters per blast furnace over here. So let's go into the blast furnace thingy. Let's see, this is going to be iron stuff. We're going to dig a little bit deeper. We kind of want to put some storage over here, so we kind of want to have our blasting thingy to start probably right here. This thing is not too big, it's quite compact, so let's put one right there, and then we want to have 2 metal casters per blast furnace. Now, these things, once again, they are quite pricey, so we are just going to build one so that we have a little bit of iron plates going, and once we have the resources, we will build the second one going, the second metal caster. Yeah. Organization is a problem for future me. Right now, these things are quite temporary, and then in the future I will rearrange them as I see fit. Now, you start with both pipes and molten channels. Pipes and belts can be elevated, like for example you can do this, up to 3 levels, right, so that your trucks can move underneath them. However, molten channels cannot. Really? Ah, okay, as you can see, like it can be elevated, however you can't bring it down or bring it anywhere up. It needs to stay at precisely the same level that it is. Makes sense, you are kinda, you know, transporting molten stuff, so yeah. There we go. Oh, and we can forget, we need 1 smoke stack. Now, you could use pipes, right, to connect several blasters to a smokestack. However, I just find that these things are not that expensive. The pipes would probably cost more than the smokestack itself, and I find it to be very pleasant to see several smokestacks all emitting pollution. Alright, so as we could see, this truck brought a few bits of scrap, and eventually we'll have a truck bringing the coal. Here we have, I bet you these guys over here have coal, and we'll see the blast furnace going full speed. Beautiful. All the items have been delivered. So yeah, in the early game, because you don't have, you know, belts, you have to rely on your workers to deliver the stuff, so you have to be kind of mindful on the channels that you build, to make sure that your workers actually have access to the stuff. But yeah, as we can see now, they are delivering the final bits over here to build this thing, but we already have the molten stuff going in here, which means that we'll have some iron plates going. Now, we have to remember, we don't have renewable iron plates. We have a limited amount of resources to make iron plates. Those will only become renewable or sustainable once we have access to mining this thing, which is actually, you know, rather close. But this thing is now built. We have access to a couple of plates, which is amazing. And now we can move on to other things, like farming, for example. We already unlocked the technology of putting seeds on the floor, and oh boy. This is not going to be pretty, but it is what it is. We don't have we don't really have a lot of space. These trees are being mean to me. Now, I know there are resources around here. Oh, it's right there. We are far away from them. It's fine. Let's put a farm right here, because our colonists need some chow from time to time, and we start with a limited amount of potatoes. So, yeah. Alright, here we go, all the parts have been delivered to this beautiful farm. Now, in this game, farming as a... it's not as simple as just building a farm and be done with it, right? There is a soil fertility, water levels, and you need both of these to be kind of positive in order to grow potatoes, otherwise they will wither and die. Right now we don't have the technology not to plant stuff. I know, it's like... it's one of those things, but eventually we are going to unlock one technology right here, crop rotation, that will allow us not to plant anything in order to regain fertility. But yeah, once again, that's something for the future. Right now, we need to wait for some rain before we can have some water in the soil, and once we have that, potatoes will start to grow, and eventually the workers will take the potatoes from the farm into the food market over here. Now, my friends, one thing we kinda can extrapolate: these engineers are not Irish, I'm certain, because if they were, they would have turned all the potatoes into bootleg whiskey by now. But that's not the case. No one is getting wasted on bootleg whiskey, so we can assume they are probably from somewhere else. Now, my friends, now that we are done looking at our engineers' nationalities, we can progress with other things, right? We have unlocked Construction 1, which gives us access to the assembly machine or building. And now we have these recipes. We can build our own electronics, our own mechanical parts, and our own construction parts. Right now we can produce iron and wood, but we still can't produce concrete slabs. That is going to be taken care of in the next research, the trading dock, but for now, let's build a small assembly area. We should kind of be careful because, once again, these things are kind of expensive and we don't really have a lot of parts going, so this thing is going to be very, very temporary, okay? Because this game works very, very similar to Factory Town. Okay, this is Factory Town reskinned, pretty much. So we are going to use the same strategies that we used in that game, where we put a row of warehouses with resources, and then we have belts going in L shapes into assembly areas. Right? That's pretty much how I think this game is better played, using you know, module factories here and there to construct materials, and then using your workers to ferry the finished resources around the place. But for now, we still don't have all the parts, and my planning is just terrible. I'm terrible at planning. It's like, whatever. I am not ashamed of it anymore now. I learned to live with it. So we are going to build a couple of assembly thingies right here, and then once we have resources available to us, we are going to get rid of them. I'm pretty certain. So right now, let's build... how many parts? They cost 19 parts. We still have 500... Let's just build one of those for now, so that we can at least get some construction parts going, because, well, we have a bunch of concrete slabs in here. Okay, we don't, but we are getting concrete from here, right? So we have a little bit of concrete. We have the iron being produced, even though it's slowly, and we have some wood, even though we are burning most of it and turning it into coal. But eventually our workers are going to deposit the wood over here, which is going to allow us to build further construction parts. There we go. Now, my friends, you might think that this location is a little bit random, but not really. This is the midway point between all the resources that we are going to need, right? And I also wanted to give some distance away from the city, because your settlement must be built adjacent to each other. Like, for example, let's see. As you can see, once we try to build a settlement, you need to build it in these squares over here. Because these things, they serve all the settlements that are connected to each other, so... yeah, I kind of want to give a little bit of space from that area. Now, let's start building a couple of these thingies, and we can also get some mechanical parts going. You can put as many recipes in one thingy as you want. Doesn't really matter too much. So right now we'll be able to produce a little bit of this stuff, not a bunch, but a little bit, and it's going to help us out in the long run. Now we just need to wait for the trading docks to be done, so we can move on to other things, and we'll also unlock the storage unit, which is pretty cool. However, we are not going to use it too much right now. Alright, finally some rain, my friends. All this time, and yeah, only now we are going to be able to grow potatoes, because, you know, rain is refilling the soil water levels, and now we are actually being able to do something. In the future, we'll be able to build irrigated farms so that we can put water into the farm without needing to wait for the god of rain to be good to us. So, yeah, this is just a problem for the early game. Beautiful, my friends. The trading dock is now complete. So, what have we unlocked? The trading dock and the storage unit, as we spoke previously. Now, we are going to need to build one of these thingies, and I'll explain in a little bit. But first, let's put this bad boy down, the trading dock. Let's rotate it. We can't really put it super close to that thing because it needs some room of its own. Let's see, probably this is as close as I can get it, so let's build it over there. Beautiful. Now, we are going to need one of these things, the unit storage, because we need to house this resource, wood, right? Let's go. Let me just take a look first. Oh yeah, this is already unlocked. So, this building, the dock, is used to trade with other villages. As we can see on the map, we have one village unlocked. In the future, once we repair our ship, we'll be able to explore other villages and other points of interest, but right now, this is all that we have. And we can use the wood to get access to pretty much infinite quote-unquote concrete slabs and iron scraps, right? And with these two thingies, we can then build construction parts, which will give us access to copper and rubber. So, in essence, we kind of have these infinite resources going now, right? But mostly is for the concrete slabs that we want. The rest of resources we'll be able to get before we run out of the stuff, so it's pretty okay. Now, let's build a storage unit right here, close to the coaling thingy, because, you know, it doesn't really matter in where you have the storage in the map. The trade is immediate. You don't need to put the resources in here, you just need to have the resources inside of the storage unit in order to be able to trade them. And here we go, one brand new storage unit for us. Beautiful! Now in here we need to, there is two ways you can do this. If you have a belt connected to the storage unit and resources get in, it will automatically select the produce that is going to be stored in there, but because we don't have any of those, we must select it manually. And now, well, this is it's self-explanatory, right? If you want stuff, you pull the green bar. If you want to empty said stuff, you pull the red bar. Right now, we kind of want to keep a little bit of that stuff inside of the storage unit so that we can trade it. So let's pull the green bar all the way, like kind of to have at least 100 units of wood available. Now, my friends, because we are going to need a little bit of wood, as we can see, we need wood for this, and we need to store wood over there, right? We are going to assign one additional truck to the tree harvester, because as we can see, the tree harvester is now waiting for someone to come over here and pick it up, and only one of the assigned trucks can do that job, at least this way, as we can see. Now we have more... That animation was a little bit junky. Hello? Okay, we need to deselect it in order not to see that that stuff, because the animation is actually pretty cool. Like, the animations in this game, even though this is still in early access, the animations are pretty cool. As we can see, look at it. Removing the leaves from the tree log, and now it's just in here waiting for a truck so it can deposit it in its bed. But because we now have two thingies, we have essentially doubled our wood output. Alright, my friends, so now we have our trading dock built, and we have a little bit of wood inside of our storages, which means that we can now go into the map menu and select this village, and for example, if we want, we can now trade for concrete slabs, and we are going to be using this trade a lot, because it takes a little while to get into concrete, okay? The other resources not so much, but the concrete is going to take a tad bit, so we are going to be using that trade a lot. Now, my friends, let's wait until we get this research going, until we get this research complete, which it's not going to take a lot, and then we'll be able to start harvesting stuff straight from the ground ourselves. And there we go, my friends. Vehicle and mining is now finished, which means we can build a vehicle depot. Now, building vehicles uses vehicle parts, and I don't think we have that recipe available to us, but as you can see, it's kind of expensive, right? It takes electronics, which uses rubber, which is something, rubber and copper, these two resources are a little bit hard to get because we need to trade construction parts for them, so yeah, not exactly ideal. And we don't really want to use too much of those stuff, so yeah. Let's put the vehicle depot right here, close to the that. Right now, this is the best location for it. In the future, we are going to move it closer to our part production facility. But you need fuel and you need parts. All the fuel and all the parts are in here, so it's just, you know, the best location for it. And there we go. Now, like I said, we have a limited number of parts, so we kind of want to be as stringy as we can with those things. We will want to build additional pickup trucks, but we also need to have at least one excavator per resource. So we need one for the coal, one for the iron, one for the copper, and one for the lime for the concrete. This is the early game thingy, and then eventually we are going to need sand and there are other resources, but not as important. So right now we kind of want to have at least 2 of them, one for coal, one for iron. So let's go 1, 2, and then these things are also going to need trucks, the same way that we are doing for the harvester. It's slightly different, but in essence is pretty much the same. So we'll want to also build, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 pickup trucks, so that we can assign 2 pickup trucks per harvester, right? Let's go, let's build all of those vehicles. It's going to siphon off a bunch of our resources, but we have to spend them anyway, so let's get them going, shall we? Now, while our vehicles are being built, which is actually pretty quick, let's get these things going. The mining towers. Now, mining is slightly different than tree harvesting. You don't really assign the harvester to a tree, or in this case to a node. You assign it to a mine control, and inside of the mine control you then tell it which area is to be mined. You don't really like say which resource, no, you just are mining area. You are removing all of those debris inside of that area, the same way we are going to do our dumping of garbage in here. We are going to do our mining. We are going to tell them, I want this area to disappear, all of it, and your excavators are going to collect dirt, iron, they are going to collect everything that stands in the way, right? So let's see, is one excavator done? There it is, beautiful. So we go over here, right, into our mine control. We edit the mining area so that it encompasses the entire node, or at least, you know, as much of the node as we can. And then we assign the vehicles, like I said, 1 excavator, 2 pickup trucks. And then we go over here into mining designation, right? We press F to flat the tool itself, and we say mine everything, right, to be at this distance, right? You're pretty much saying that you want all of this area to be at a height of +2, right? And everything that is not at +2 will be removed as we... Oh, nope. Press that again. There we go. And as we can see, the excavator is now removing all the bits and bobs that are outside of that area, be it iron or dirt, it doesn't really matter. Everything that it is in the way, it's going to go bye-bye. Now, I find that the excavators, they give priority to resource over dirt. I don't know if that is true or if it's just my imagination, but I found that they give priority to collect the resources first, and then they will just collect all the dirt that is in the way of them collecting resources, right? But oh well. Now, in here, as we can see, now we can select the other recipe, iron ore plus coal, gives iron, molten iron, slag, and exhaust. So let's select that recipe, and as we can see, the truck will deposit the stuff in there. Now, given that we have access to some resources, let's build a second one of these. Come on, make it pretty. Now, the belts and pipes, they are a little bit finicky, okay? They have a mind of their own. Oh, no research. No, that's terrible. Let's get beacon so that we can have more workers. Basic diesel, super important. Concrete production, let's get that going as well. And storage, very important. Copper, ship dock, that one is not important. We can get this one, and then we can get this one. Like I said, this one is not important, we'll do it later. And then we want this one. This is our tech tree path. We want all of those things, so let's just get them going in the background. Now, like, I could explain all of these things, but they are kind of self-explanatory. These are the buildings you need for concrete, these are the buildings you need for copper, additional storage facilities, diesel production, rubber production, construction level 2, which will then enable belts, which is like I really want this. Everything else can wait, but the belts... Oh boy, the belts make a whole lot of differences. Alright, my friends, so the same way that we have done the iron over here, I will do the coal, right? This way we will be able to remove our first temporary thing from the game. Look at that, episode number 1, and we are already removing stuff. How beautiful is it? Now let's assign a mining tower over here, overviewing the ginormous coal deposit that we have over here. This coal deposit is just huge. But oh well, we already have the excavator ready. Once this thing is built, we'll assign it an area, excavate all of this beautiful coal, which will mean that this is going to go bye-bye, which is also going to mean that we'll be able to store a lot more wood for our future projects. So let's go, edit mining area, let's add it to be like this. And then first we start by flattening. Once we are done with the flattening, we will go down. So F to make sure that it is... Come on. Let's go like this. And then like this. Beautiful. There we go. We can now collect all of that coal. Let's assign excavator, a couple of vehicles, and we are done. This ugly thingy over here, it's a bye-bye. Bye-bye, bye-bye. And we have reclaimed a few resources, which is rather nice, because now we can increase our manufacturing capacity, and we can do it by... let's give it 2 squares of space. In fact, let's go like so. This way, we are going to remove that recipe from there, and we're going to assign it over here, and in here we are going to start building some electronics, and then we'll add another factory over here. Let's give it a little bit of distance so that I can put a storage unit in the middle, or not in the middle, but in front of each of those thingies in the future, and then connect them all to that. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. Once again, all of this is temporary, so doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to delete it. Oh no. I'm glad this thing is temporary now. I won't be able to unsee that. But oh well, now that we have access to, let's say, plenty of resources, not plenty, but a good amount, we can start, shall we say, build a bunch of stuff. We could even put this stuff into storages. Now, you don't really need belts to put stuff into storages, okay? Not... wrong thingy. You can technically do this. If you align the red arrow with the green arrow, bam, it's connected. You don't need the storage, you don't need the belt. That stuff can be put into a storage. Now, we're not going to do that because this is consuming resources that are technically not really renewable, so we don't really want to have a huge surplus of that stuff. We just want to have the ability of manufacturing the stuff in the first place. Alright, so now we have a few more things to build. We need to build a beacon, however, we also need to build a maintenance depot with some urgency. There is like this stat called maintenance, right? And your thingies, right now, they kind of have a little bit more maintenance than they should because it is the early game, right? And, you know, you still don't have access to this thing. But that maintenance is going to wear out pretty quickly. So we want to have one of these thingies. This thing kind of just consumes resources to have a overall maintenance to the game. The vehicles will not have to drive over here to replenish their maintenance. It's kind of done remotely. It's a bit strange, but once again, this is a very early, it's still in very early access. So yeah, kinda of one of the... it's... yeah. You have to not look at it too much. Now, we are kinda gonna need a little bit of power. Have I researched the power thingy just yet? Or, yeah, we already have, because power and maintenance, it's in the same thingy. Now, power and maintenance, power requires fuel, and we have a limited amount of fuel. Luckily for us, we are doing the basic diesel right now. I think I'm going to leave it for the next episode, because it's kinda complex. But we can now have a little bit of power generation going. And this thing is not going to consume a bunch of diesel, so we're just going to put it over here because, you know, this is our diesel reserve right there, all of it. So there is no point in having the vehicles travel all the way across the map just to deliver some diesel into this thing. And once again, power is a general concept. There is like no power lines or anything like that. Power being produced over there will travel in here, which is going to be just fantastic, because it's one less headache to worry about. Now, while those things are getting built, we still have one final thing. Where is that beacon thingy? Come on. Come on, game. You're making me look like a dumbass over here. Yeah, this is the final building that we are going to build right now, which is the beacon. This thing pretty much lets everybody know that you are in here, so refugees can come into your island, increasing your population, because you have workers. Workers are one of the resources that you have, and as you can see right now, we are running low on workers. So let's start importing a couple of refugees, shall we? And we are also going to do something that absolutely annoys. Like, why? Why are you in here? Why couldn't you start in there? Like, for real. Couldn't you start in there? Because I will have to demolish you in order to grow my city. But oh well, that's just one of those small details. Alright, so let's demolish this thingy. It's going to tell you low food supply. Oh yeah, this is a kind of a mistake on my part. Jesus, I should have done this part first. But oh well, because it's only counting the food that you have inside of your food market. Yeah, I should have transferred the food first and then deconstructed it. I've done this mistake last time as well. When I, just played the game just to see if it was fun, I did this, so... Yeah, but this time I managed not to kill anyone, unlike last time, so... Just an improvement on my part. But in any case, our population is growing, and so we need a little bit more space for them. These things are expensive, so don't go crazy building a bunch of them. Just build them as necessary. So let's build one of those to increase the capacity of population that we can have, and be done with it. Alright, so now that we are still waiting for that basic diesel to come to us, let's build further storage for both food and resources. Because, yeah, food is one of those things that can get away from you rather quickly. You will only notice that you have a problem once you have a problem, because you're so focused on other things, like you're setting up your assembly lines and stuff like that, and before you know it, that thing turns red and lets you know, hey, everybody is kind of starving, and then it's going to take a couple of months to grow food, and yeah, it's a problem. Let's just set up a couple of early game storages so that we can have more potatoes should our villagers decide to start turning all of them into whiskey. We never know, right? And let's put a couple of unit storages right here for some of the resources that we are using. Now, we are not going to belt this... Because here's the thing. Yeah, these things only cost construction components. We can build more construction components. Yeah, I don't even know why I'm thinking about this. Let's just put a bunch of these thingies right here and not even think too much about it. Let's put it down. Once again, positioning, not really super important. All of these things are going to go bye-bye. I just want to have the 5 basic resources that we are using in here so that the trucks only have to go like this, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward to resupply these thingies. And this way we also have a place to put, iron. Like, for example, right now the only iron we can store is like the ones inside of these thingies, which is not a lot. And now the trucks will be able to dump all of it in here. And in here we also want some wood, please, and then some of that concrete, and in here copper and rubber. There we go. Because these are the 5 basic resources needed for our basic assembly area over here, right? Now, my friends, once again, we are not going to build storage for the finished resources. These are basic resources, not finished resources, because if you start storing, like, for example, construction components, that means that you are going to use all of these thingies in order to be able to fill up one warehouse, right? And we don't want that. We just want to have access to those parts, and if we need to wait a little bit, we'll wait a little bit. But right now, I think this is a good place to call this first episode, my friends. We have pretty much all the parts that we need in our basic... in our early game being built, which is pretty cool in this a temporary assembly line, and so I think we can call it in here. Next episode we are going to go into this area over here that our tree harvester has so politely devastated, and we are going to start collecting some of that oil and turning it into diesel, making sure that we never run out of fuel ever again. And to be honest, my friends, I think I start to understand why our engineers don't want to call for help. As you've seen the fuel prices, yeah, no, they kind of thought to themselves, I'm going to make my own fuel, screw that. But yeah, my friends, I think we are going to call it in here. We have made good progress for this first episode, and like I said, in the next episode we are going to take care of our diesel production and a few other things, because that thing is not that complicated to set up, right? But in any case, my friends, and with all of that said, I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you will enjoy this series, and if you have, please consider subscribing and help the channel grow. But in the meantime, this is the Base Manager signing out. Bye bye.